You are in for a real treat. This episode was originally recorded for my other podcast, but for you, it's been upgraded and transformed, and now you have the Ask the Pro show. So everything mentioned in this episode will now be found on chrisdufay.com, plus so much more, as I've designed the Ask the Pro podcast and chrisdufay.com to give you exactly what you need to grow your business success and for you to have the money, the freedom, and the happiness you want, making a bigger and better impact to the world unselfishly. So now it's time to delve straight into this episode, and I want you to lap up and enjoy every single second of it. All right, John McIntyre, thank you so much for taking the time out. I'm actually quite surprised how easily this has come together for us to do this episode. You're in Colombia, in Medellin. I'm here in Bali right now, and we're talking junk together, and we're going to give this episode right out to the world. I'm really looking forward to this because initially this was going to be very much about e-commerce, because you are an absolute wizard when it comes to emails. But I think this is just going to turn into a broad spectrum of how the listener can use this to be able to build their business, their clients, and their customers in multiple streams. But before we get into that, John, thanks so much for being here.
Mate, it's great to be here, dude. I'm happy.
Now, just before we get into this, who the hell is John McIntyre, and why is he so phenomenal?
I don't know where to start. To get on the email route, originally from Sydney, Australia, down in... Are we talking to Australians, or are we talking to just...
There's a lot. Actually, no, to tell you the truth, I think I looked at it, 60% of the listeners are in the US, and then in Australia.
Okay, cool. Well, so I won't sort of go into where I'm from, but yeah, Sydney, Australia. I left Australia about 4 years ago, moved to the Philippines, was a marketing director for a beach resort there. Eventually, well, obviously the whole goal was to start my own thing, go and travel, have a great lifestyle, 4-hour work week kind of thing. About a year into there, I started doing email marketing and built that into an agency, which was sort of serving just general business, like all sorts of publishers and software and a bit of e-commerce as well. And what I've done in the last few months is narrowed it right down to focus only on online retailers and e-commerce for a number of different reasons, which we can get into. But really, it's just, I've made sort of email marketing, my focus for the last 3-4, like copywriting and email marketing, and using that to increase sales, make more money, make life easier by automating the whole thing, like all of that. Like that's just basically what I do now.
I tell you what, maybe even before we jump into it, what was the drawing factor that brought you into emails? Like, why emails?
I think originally it started with copywriting, and I originally had a fruit and vegetable juicing website. I always say fruit and vegetable juicing because if I just say juicing, people ask me if it was a steroids website. So it was fruit and vegetable juice. I had recipes on there for, carrot and beetroot and, all that sort of stuff. And I was desperately trying to figure out how to make money online while I was working at this resort in the Philippines. And I kept trying things. I'd make, a couple $100 here, and then I started doing a few sort of terribly executed product launches and made about, I think I made $1,000 in a pop, $1,500 a pop, which at the time was, felt like a big deal.
Yeah.
And so that's where, around that time I was like, all right, I've got to learn how to write copy. I've got to learn how to write words that sell. It's like, if I can be that guy, if I can learn how to sell stuff, I'm always going to be in need wherever I go. And like even in a bad market, I just think in life in general, if I could be that guy, life would be great. So that's where it started. And then the email thing kind of took a little while to come together. What happened was I started just writing copy in general. And just what happened is one of the first jobs I did was a 10 email series for a friend of mine, Dan Andrews, who you probably know as well.
Yeah. Actually, real funny. I remember I met him here in Bali. He was at the gym, and I remember seeing this dude sitting down at the gym, and he was on his laptop working, and I saw the DC sign on his laptop, and I was like, I didn't really think much. And then this is funny because this is clearly a conversation between you and me, not the listener. Anyway, enjoy. And then I saw that he had the app on his computer, the F Flux or the G Flux or whatever it is that takes the blue light out of the screen, so it doesn't wake your pituitary gland. It's good for nighttime. Anyway, this guy was using it. I was like, oh, that's funny. I used it last week, and then something clicked. I was like, you're Dan, aren't you? I was like, oh, I'm Chris from the. Anyway, mixed it together. Really nice guy. Awesome. Hope you enjoy that. Continue on, John.
Well, he was the first client. The first invoice that I sent was to him for $200, 10 emails, and got a great result. Basically, I think it was at 250%. His lead flow, a lead sign up on the site with some really simple stuff that I did for him. And from that, I just badgered him until he let me get on the podcast with him. He had a podcast at the time. Oh, he still has it, actually. And talk about what I did and then make an offer at the end. So did that. That then led to 3 or 4 more email marketing clients. And then occasionally I'd have someone who come in with a sales letter or just random sort of just sales copywriting client. But it was mostly around email. And eventually I was going through some marketing training, learning how to, develop USPs for clients for, as a marketing consultant. And I was just like, what the hell's my USP? Am I just a copywriter? Yeah. Or am I going to be like, what's my thing? And at the time I was like, well, I'm doing all email stuff. So I'm going to call myself the autoresponder guy. And at the time, it was a really good decision. Looking back, I can see how I could have done it better and done it differently. And I mean, that's just hindsight.
Yeah.
But that's where it all started. And that sort of brought me to sort of where I'm now. So I wasn't like people talk about when they're 8 years old, they had this dream they're going to go on, no, I don't think anyone dreams of writing emails. But, it was just pure happenstance. I learned copywriting and email I just fell into email for the most part. It could have just as well could have been any other form of copywriting. It could have gone in any other direction. So it was a lot of luck involved. And it's been an interesting journey.
No, I think it's been great because obviously I don't think it's necessarily luck. I think you've obviously worked your ass off for it as well. But it's a good point that you bring up about developing that USP, because I think so many people just don't know what that uniqueness that they really bring to the table and what separates them from their competition. And we were even chatting before we hit record about obviously your changes now and how you are pretty much what's the cool name you're going to call yourself? The e-commerce marketing guy? I
don't know. Like I was kind of going with e-commerce email marketing guy, but then at the same time, like the new site it's not really based on me anymore. And that's probably very intentional. I think part of it too is like looking at the personal brand appeals to probably like probably more of like entrepreneurs, freelancers, consultants, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm trying to go after, the ideal client for us starts at $2 million revenue a year.
Yeah.
And these people, these sort of companies, they're used to working with other companies that have accounts departments, and like this is much more serious business. So I think I'm going to use my brand and my name to build it. I think initially, at least, especially I've got a podcast that we just put out. But it's much less focused on John McIntyre as the authority than on the brand re-engager in general.
Right. Awesome. How do you help someone develop their USP? Like in a nutshell, how do you think someone can go about it? Because I think so many people just get it completely wrong.
I think like I said, so when I mentioned luck before, I think I was using luck in the sense of like I might have been a supplement copywriter, or maybe I don't know, I could have gone in a lot of different directions. And so my USP sort of just came out of like, I noticed I was doing a lot of email marketing. I was like, well, this would probably work better if I called myself the email guy, and it makes me easy to refer to someone. Because if someone says, look, I need someone to write, some email stuff for me, some emails for me, are they going to refer a copywriter, or are they going to refer the email copywriter?
Nice.
And in most cases, it's going to be, I know the email guy. He's perfect. Even if the other copywriter is a better copywriter than me. So as far as like, you can develop a USP a few ways. I think one way is to kind of look at who you're serving right now and look at, who do you really provide that the unique advantage for? Because sometimes you're already going to have a USP, you just don't know it. Whereas if you're at the start of the journey, or you just sort of you don't really have that differentiation yet, I think you can think strategically about it. I think it gets a little bit tricky because you might, without the experience, you might not be able to pick it right. But the idea is that, like, are you going to be, if you're a trainer or a consultant, like, are you just the generic do everything kind of guy or girl? Or are you want someone who does one specific thing for one specific person?
Yep.
Because if you do one specific thing for one specific person, it's a lot easier for you to talk about. It's a lot easier for to target people. And I mean, that just reminded me that one thing that's probably worth mentioning is the mistake that I made with the autoresponder guy positioning or branding that USP it was great in many ways, but the downside, which I've changed and corrected this year, and is part of the reason for the new business, is that the autoresponder guy is based on email marketing. It's not based. It's a USP based on the skill, on the delivery of what I actually offer. It's not on who I'm helping. So what that means is I've got an audience of people who are into email, which means I've got people with jobs who are trying to become, quit the job and make money and travel. People who are already consultants and want to, use copy to make more money. People who have small businesses, like people who have really big businesses and want copy. So it's everyone across the board, which means it's really hard for me to create products. It's really hard for me to scale. And it's a bit of a mess. Whereas if my sort of USP was, instead of being based on email, it was based on e-commerce email marketing like it is now, or like writing like the supplement copywriter.
Yep.
Then it's like, all I have to do is then just go contact every supplement manufacturer out there, anyone who's selling supplements. That makes it really easy for me to help them, to create content for them, to create products. It just makes everything else easier. So if I could do anything differently, if I go back to that time when I was figuring out that USP thing, I would focus the USP on the person I'm helping, like choose one specific person I'm trying to help, and what I'm offering them. I wouldn't just focus on the skill set. I'd want to find one specific person and one specific outcome that I'm doing.
That's awesome, because I think so many people initially, when they say, "Oh, okay, I'm the autoresponder guy," some people go, "Oh, great!" Like you're really say niching down, but you've just taken it again to that next step. And I think so many people listening right now could be like, "Okay, like I'm the weight loss guy." Like, no, that is not the answer. Like that is too broad. Like so many people, you can't go out and say something like that because you're trying to talk to too many different people. Like, are you trying to talk to a 25-year-old bodybuilder that wants to get in great condition? Or are you talking to a middle-aged female, do you know what I mean, that just wants to be feeling confident inside her own skin? That there's so many different ways you could go about it.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point in the sense that, online, there's like so much business opportunity bullshit out there. Here's how to fucking start this business or do this, do that. Like there's tons and tons of that sort of stuff. And it can be depressing sometimes because the idea, well, it's very depressing, I think, for a lot of people, maybe for everyone, because what it teaches you is that the reason you suck, the reason you're failing, the reason you haven't got the result that you want yet isn't because you've got a system and the system works every time because that's what you've been told. It's all your fault. And what nobody actually tells you is that when it comes to business and entrepreneurship, is like it's got to be like 80% timing. Like understand, like if you were the first person to ever call yourself the weight loss guy, would have been a great USP. But now there's probably thousands of them, and the market's much more sophisticated. That the timing is completely wrong for that USP now. And so I think this was a huge point that I wish I got earlier, is that a lot of business and this, it's not about having the best ebook or the best system that someone's told you to follow. A big part of it is understanding the timing of the market. What does the market need right now? Not what did it need 5 or 10 years ago, which means that right now I'd say it's really sophisticated in terms of all the different trainers you can get. And I mean, you've probably got bodybuilding guys, like weight loss guys, people who work with men, some of them work with women, all the different, like you've got that physique comps and like big ass bodybuilding comps, natural bodybuilding comps. Like there's so many different segments of that market. And so you need to pick one. That's just where the market's at right now. So it's the timing aspect of it. And I think it's getting harder to do this in, copywriting, because I've noticed even just since I've been doing it in the last 3 years, there's a lot more email copywriters out there. And I don't think that's all from me. I think that's from just, there's a lot of, copywriting's just getting more and more of a thing. It's a very low barrier to entry. So it's not as good now to go and call yourself the autoresponder guy, the email guy, as it was, say, 3 years ago.
Right. But obviously you're the one that kind of led the market there.
You know what's funny is I wasn't. I was in some very very specific communities, but there was another guy. It's a guy who writes for Perry Marshall, and he calls himself the autoresponder guy. He just didn't run in any of the circles I ran in. Huh?
Did he really?
100%. Let's go do this right now. I'm gonna look up the autoresponder guy on Google, and he should still be. His name's John Fantz. His name's I own the keyword now. But his name's John. Yeah, go look up autoresponder. Number 7 is this guy called John Fancher.
And his first name's John. This is too good.
So I think the mistake that he made with it anyways, like he's just a copywriter and he sort of positions himself around email marketing.
Yeah. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be back in a split with so much more for you. Now, I know you're listening and tuning in because you know how important your health is and how this can also catapult your business. This is why I'm very happy to say that this podcast is sponsored by My Body Blends and my favorite, the superfood elixir, the powerful greens drink. Now, this is designed specially to boost energy, aids detoxification, enhances the ability to burn fat, supports healthy carbohydrate metabolism, and best of all, is voted best tasting greens drink. Now, myself and the My Body Blends team are looking for ambassadors to join, so you and your clients get the health benefits plus adding in a strong income stream for you and your business. The ambassador program, which is by application only, means you get exclusive access to sell My Body Blends products like Superfood Elixir to your clients, plus giving you the special ambassador pricing and bonuses. So once you become an ambassador, you can join the other top health and fitness players that are adding thousands to their week's income. Now, there is only a limited number of ambassadors we are taking on board. as this is a tribe leading the way together. So to apply and to join, go to mybodyblend.com/ambassador or add the checkout code that is TurningPro, all one word, when you're going to get your own superfood elixir to order. Plus, you're going to get free shipping and a bonus to save yourself over $250 instantly. So just use that coupon code TurningPro in the checkout and you can save over $250 right now, all on mybodyblend.com. You went head first straight into it. You obviously developed the podcast or the content you do, like everything.
Yeah, I mean, well, I think that's one thing I've learned, and that's what I'm applying a lot now, is like looking at like Reengager as a new business. And partly it's me, so partly I'll probably start calling myself this e-commerce email marketing guy for online retailers. And I know that it's one of these funny things, right? If you can find these titles and these USPs, if you just start calling yourself that, at first it's going to be just you talking in like an echo chamber. But eventually these people catch on. They'll start to think of you, John's you start to become associated with that idea. And then anytime someone, they meet an e-commerce store owner, or they, those two ideas become welded together. And then everyone else starts thinking of you as that guy, and it takes on a life of its own. So that's one. And I don't know whether it's just sort of luck or happening, or I had sort of more an intuition for it. But that's one thing I think I did well with the autoresponder guy thing, was just you go around and call yourself something, as long as it's a bit different, a bit unique. Everyone else is going to start calling you that, as long as you can sort of act like an expert and talk like an expert. If you're good on video and good on audio, go and do some podcasts. Like there's a certain personality that's required, but if you can do it, authority is fairly easy to create this way.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. And I remember hearing somewhere, I don't know where it came from, but it said being different is better than being better.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like it's like I was saying before, right? The email copywriting thing. Like there could be a copywriter. There's a lot of copywriters who are better than me at copywriting. But I think in a lot of cases, people have come to me to write that copy just because I'm the email guy, not because I'm better.
No, in their mind, it's perfectly fine. There's I don't see anything wrong with that. It's just the way everything is set up and how you positioned yourself. Okay, this is really good, but I've not touched one question that I've written that we were originally supposed to hit. So,
I love this kind of podcast.
Let's get back on track. Okay, so my God. Okay, e-commerce and email marketing. Why would someone that is thinking about starting or is currently running, let's have it really specific, selling supplements online, why would someone want to use the power of emails?
I think it comes back to understanding what's email for? And I actually said this in a podcast earlier today. It's this idea that like people get really confused and think it's overwhelming, and like, how many emails do I send? How often do I send them? HTML versus text. And it's just a whole complete mess where, the way to think about it is email's it's just communication. It's just building relationships and building rapport and being cool and all of that. What's great about email and where it's great with e-commerce is you can track, and this is fairly easy with software these days, you can track pretty much any event on your website. So an event is something that happens, something that someone does. So an event might be, obviously the easiest one is someone signs up to a list. That's an event. And if they click a link on the next page, or if they click a link in an email, those are both events. If they view a page, that's an event. If they go to their checkout and they put their email address in, but they don't buy, that's an event. And so you can, an event, other sort of probably more conceptual events like haven't purchased anything in 60 days. That's an event. Or maybe they're bought something and it's going to run out. It's a 30-day supply and 30 days have passed. That's an event. So what you can do with email and where it's really cool with e-commerce, especially supplements, is you can start triggering all these different emails based on all these events. So the easiest one to sort of imagine is you have a shopping site. Someone goes there, adds the main supplement to their cart, goes to the shopping cart to check out. They get there, they put in their email address, they hit tab, they go to the next line, maybe put their name, first name, last name. Then they get to the payment. And they're like, fuck, I don't know, my credit card, or my wife's calling me, my kid's calling me, or something, and they leave the site. Now, what you can do now, it's 68 out of every 100 people who visit your website or who add something to the cart will do that. They'll just leave without buying.
So cart abandonment is at 68%.
Yeah, it's 2/3 of the people who try to buy something are leaving your site.
So someone that does not have like a cart abandonment sequence in place is literally losing easily 2/3 of their business straight away.
Yeah, I mean sending out like emails, not like it's not a magic bullet. You're not going to get 100% of those people through. And there's something like 14 or 15 different main reasons why someone will abandon their checkout. So there's a lot to do with stuff like, free shipping's a big one. Do you have their right payment method? Do you have their shipping method? Do you have, express shipping? Do you have security seals on the website? There's a lot of different reasons why people check out, why people abandon their carts. What you can do though is, it's going to vary based on industry, but the case studies that we've seen is that people are getting, it might be like 7% back to the store. It might be, I think the highest I've seen is 13%. Another site had 40%, but that was with several different campaigns. It wasn't just a straight cart abandonment sequence. Okay. So if you look at it, so to put that into numbers, like a small e-commerce store, like a small supplement store, for example, would be, say, $1 million a year. Maybe that sounds big, but it's relatively small when you're doing like products like that. And so you get $1 million. Now, based on the cart abandonment, you got $2 million walking out the door every month every year from cart abandonment. So if you can go and get back just 10% of those with with the cart abandonment sequence, that's an extra $200,000 to the bottom line with 3 simple emails that you're going to test, tweak, and sort of strategize and plan out. But it's almost $200,000 with a couple of emails. And then if you go and look at all the other things you can sort of do to tweak the shopping cart, you're looking at adding. It's just the numbers get really good. This is why I want to get into this market. It's just because the value that there is, the value that we can add with email is just huge.
So you're saying, and that's the beautiful. I think so many people miss out. What's the return on the investment? And from those numbers you've just went, like if you had a 3 email sequence to follow up on people, because they're generally wanting the product. They've just had something jump in the way. That's pretty much, you're saying it's like a $70,000 per email is what's worth for the business. Like that's phenomenal.
Plus, it scales with the business too. Yeah. So it's not like when you double your business to $2 million, you're going to have to like do twice as much work to send those emails. No, you just have software that scales with your business. You might pay a little bit more for the database and the software just because that's how they usually bill it. But for the most part, you're not doing any more effort. This is this is the thing with email, right? If you're not doing any volume, if you're making like $1,000 a month, it's probably a waste of time. $1,000 a month, it's just not big enough to really want. Go focus on paid traffic first. Yeah, go do something else. But once you get to some decent revenue, you're looking at like some really interesting numbers. Like if you go $1 million a year, if you want to break it down further, typical gross margins on supplement margins must be like 90%.
Wow.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know, let's say 40% because that's a standard retail gross margin.
Yep.
So you got $400,000 gross profit a year, right? But you've also got, that means you got $800,000 abandoning every year as well. You get 10% of that back. You got $80,000 gross profit per year in addition with 3 simple emails. Like that's gross profit, and that'll mostly be net profit because a lot of the expenses associated with that are fixed costs,
exactly.
Like rent, office space, warehouse, things like that. So it's pretty exciting. It makes the pitches really easy. But one thing I think one issue I've been running into a little bit is sometimes people don't fully understand email yet. And that's something I'm still working on, getting better at explaining it and all that sort of stuff.
Okay, that's a beautiful question then. So the listener might be asking that question right now. How would you explain that in a nutshell?
The way I do it is break down these numbers. Like I look at our standard figure that we run off is 10 to 30%. You're going to increase with an email marketing plan. So if a store's not doing email marketing and they're doing, say, $1 million a year overall, we're looking at $100,000, $100,000 to $300,000 in increased revenue with an email marketing campaign or with an email. It's sort of more of a system. It's not really just one campaign.
Just with that pitch alone, like you can completely see the return on the investment.
Yeah. That's the pitch there. Like I've got one client right now basically. So here's the challenge, right? We did a great deal for him, $1,000 to run a promotion for him for a week. He'd never done email marketing before, been in business for 20 years. Has a database of 30,000 people, has never emailed them.
Don't you call that a cold list?
So we charged him $1,000 for a campaign that we're going to set up and run. So we did that, and we generated about $25,000 with that campaign.
Wow.
So he's very happy, obviously. So he's probably net like $10,000 gross profits. Yeah. He's netting like $9,000 on, and that's one like basic promotional campaign. All it did was a discount. There was nothing fancy about it at all. So now I've got him. All right. Well, now I've got this next product, this next project. We're going to set up all the 7 different automated campaigns, and then we're going to run these promotions every single month for you. He's like, oh yeah, I'm on board, but I've got to get this tech stuff sorted out. He's got to get a consultant on to do something to do with the shopping cart. It's like a enterprise level CMS system.
Yep.
And so I think the challenge is like, we can absolutely get started right now, but his challenge is I think he doesn't fully understand the opportunity. Maybe he's got some other reason that he's not pulling the trigger. Maybe the price point's too high or something like that. But it's just an interesting challenge that, I've been doing, like I said, the first few emails I wrote was, $200 for 10 emails. This is much more we're charging people a lot more for this. And so it's a different game. It's actually really interesting. But so a big part of it is like helping them understand the opportunity. Like, this dude's 50 to 60. It never emailed his list. Like the amount of money that this guy has just lost, just pissed away in the wind because he hasn't executed on this ever, is quite incredible.
That really is. And it's scary that he could still not fully grasp what's going on, even though he's seen that. Okay. Obviously, emails is really about relationship building. So how could an e-commerce site selling supplements, how does someone go about building a relationship through email?
Well, I'd say it's like looking at there's a lot of different ways to do that. It's like, so I guess which campaigns you're going to talk about. So one of the first things on an e-commerce site you're looking at is a welcome series. And I think it's like the majority, I don't have the stat in front of me right now, something like the majority of people that sign up, you expect a welcome email that says, welcome to the family, here's your discount, here's here's the incentive that we offered you, whether it's a PDF or guide or whatever it is. Give that to them, welcome them, give them a bit of a brand story so they understand, once again, why you're different, that USP. Why should they buy your supplements or your kitchen knives or your whatevers instead of your competitors? And then, that would be usually just welcoming them in and setting the stage for what's to come. So tell them what's going to come up in the next few weeks. And that would sort of kick things off. And you're really trying to create that nice little slot in someone's brain for you to occupy so that when they think supplement, like weight loss supplements, they think your company. When they think kitchen knives, they think your company. After that, you go into like a nurture process. This is based on the idea that like 3% of people will buy when they first hear about you, 47% will buy later, and 50% will never buy. So if you don't have some sort of process for following up with, new leads, people who aren't ready to buy right now, but might be ready to buy in a few weeks or a few months, you're going to leave a lot of money on the table, 47%. And that's just a rough figure, but you're going to leave, a majority of your revenue on the table. So this is where the nurture process comes in. And this is, I think people overcomplicate this. This is really just like, it's like I go into a bar. I can either walk up to a girl and say, hey, let's go home together. Let's sleep together. Come sleep with me. Just like that. Or I can go in and we can, I can say something nice to her, tell her she's really pretty. Hi, how you doing? I had to come say hello, have a nice conversation about our dreams in life, whatever. You basically build a relationship, build rapport, go on a few different topics, add some value to her, let her add some value to me, all that sort of stuff. Then, you start to get into like maybe a kiss, maybe you go home together, whatever. So it's a bit like this. You have to seduce the people, these people, and that requires, obviously there can be a promotional element where you can say, here's 10% off, but you don't want that to become your main thing or your main shtick because it puts you at a weak position. So what I would be doing, this is totally dependent on the brand, on the product you're selling, but you want to be sending helpful content that could either be educational or just sort of informative around the subject matter. So it doesn't necessarily have to be about the product itself. Like if you're selling like natural weight loss supplements, you could talk about how an exercise program aids weight loss or how, people who get less than 6 hours sleep a night don't burn fat properly. Their metabolism slows down. And so if you're not sleeping at least 8 hours a night, then fix your sleep before you go and fix your diet, for example. Like you send out that kind of stuff. You could talk about, send out videos, you can send out testimonials, you send out there's so many different directions to go in. And you're really just looking to, just building a relationship with them, staying top of mind. It's like you're in the bar with that girl or that guy and you need to warm them up first and make sure that whenever they're ready to purchase, there's a link that's very obvious that says, here, buy now, that you don't always have to be in your face about it though.
So obviously there's a lot of flirting, there's a lot of courting going on, there's a bit of foreplay, but then there's obviously you have to follow up and actually make the sale and ask for the sale as well.
Yeah. It's like if you meet a girl or a guy, you have to ask for that phone number. You have to take that risk. And so I think every store should be running regular promotions once or twice a month. The nurture program would probably be once or twice a week at first, just because I think that depending on the store, on the industry, most people aren't going to be expecting daily emails or more than a few emails per month, per week. So I'd say 1 to 2 emails a week, just be helpful. Like just be cool, which is a huge concept. But I think that's really what it boils down to. And
isn't that just because people want to do business with people they like and like
the no like and trust thing?
Yeah, like you're cool, so I'm more than happy to do business with you.
Yeah, it's pretty much. Part of it's that. That probably plays out. That thought process plays out a lot more with I think like consultants and training and coaching. With this, I think it's more. I think it's very much like that. It's like there's an issue of trust. Like, is this company legit? Are they going to screw up my order? Is it even going to arrive? Is the product going to suck? Once you've got the trust, I was chatting to someone about this today. You've got like if you're going to follow up with customers, you've got new customers and repeat customers. The key thing to understand is that the new customers, you don't really So you really need to focus on that trust issue with new customers. With repeat customers, not so much. They already trust you. That's why they bought again. So with them, it's going to be more about creating offers and coming up with things that really solve their problems. Because if they like you, they already like you and trust you. So now it's about what can you just offer them that's going to appeal to their needs, their problems, their desires, whatever. They're different problems. So when someone hasn't bought anything from you, there's a huge trust. There's a huge trust issue, and there's also is this even going to help me?
Yep.
So, there's there's so many different ways to unpack this, man.
Okay, no, this is great. And now, one thing I want to touch on is what you've said before was the promotion side of things and obviously running continual promotions. What are other avenues you can go down other than discounting? Because I just hate having to discount things. Like you see, say top level brands, Versace, they're not going to discount. They're not going to suddenly say, oh, it's 50% off today, because it completely devalues them. But what are other ways we can go down?
The discount, when you're just throwing out discounts every single time, it devalues the product. It makes you seem insecure and needy. It's kind of like that guy, it's like to go to that bar analogy. And this is such a cliche when it comes to marketing and dating, but, you don't want to be that guy who's just keeps showing up and keeps asking for attention from the girl or the guy or whatever. You just don't want to be that guy. You want to be the person who's kind of like, your product's good. You know that you have value. You don't need to beg people to buy your stuff. Yeah. You throw out a discount here and there, but you won't, you don't do it all the time. So here's some of the things you can do. You can provide your customers value through adding stuff instead of subtracting stuff. So you could add, bundle in a related product as a gift or a bonus, things like that. And that's really you're still going to lose some, there's obviously going to be you're going to eat into your margin that way, but it's going to protect the brand a little bit more, because discounting is going to devalue it. So another thing is free shipping. 61% of shoppers identify shipping cost, this is from UPS, as important to their purchase decision. So if you can offer free shipping, as a part of doing business with you, that's pretty rad too. You've got free gifts. So you can have I remember a crazy story from Derek Sivers when he was doing CD Baby, and they had this special requests field in their shopping cart form where you pay. I think it was you see this with a lot of shopping carts, right? They say do you have any comments, special requests? And someone in there said they want a squid. And so they actually, there's a news story out of this somewhere. They actually went and bought a squid and sent it to the guy with whatever he bought.
That's awesome.
And it just totally that's a lot of effort to go to, but that just totally blew the guys down. I think blew up on social media. So that's one example. Points, you have a point program is another one where. And so instead of getting discounts or always offering a discount, they're going to rack up points the more they buy with you, and then they can use those points to spend on another program, another product.
Okay, excellent. So obviously, rather than trying to detract, add to and give more value rather than going the other way around.
Yeah. I guess that's a good way to put it, is that all this boils down to, instead of trying to subtract value to give them a cheaper price, just try and add value to keep the same price.
Okay, now, brilliant. Now, last point, and I know we're definitely going to have to do another episode because we just went way over time and I've touched next to nothing. Okay, if we 80-20 someone's e-commerce store, what do you find as that top 1 to 2%?
Cart abandonment would be the very first thing. Wow. If you're not doing anything, cart abandonment, and don't do one email, don't do the standard default email or whatever your platform uses. Do a proper 3 email, strategize it out, put some a lot of effort into it. Number 2 would probably be, if you're not running them already, do regular promotions, not always with discounts, obviously with some of the tips we discussed here. Mm-hmm. And then 3 would be probably an opt-in strategy on the site, add a few different pop-ups, ways for people to sign up. And that's a whole different episode really, but add a few different ways for people to sign up on your website, and then create a welcome email and a basic nurture series that's going to sort of get them indoctrinated into the brand.
Excellent. Okay, now I know for sure the listener is just probably frothing at the mouth to know more about yourself and everything you're doing. Where do they go?
The best place is reengager.com. That's the site that has all the info on it. That's more for the clients. I'm happy. You can go on that site, book a strategy call. We can get on the phone and chat about it if you have a store. Or if you just want to learn a bit more about it, you're not ready to get on the phone, you can check out if you email me, actually, I just created a Facebook group. It's free. And the whole idea is, it's literally started this week. And I just want to bring people together, people who are, have companies in the industry, are getting into it, service providers, just anyone who's in e-commerce to come together and talk about just email marketing for e-commerce, not anything else, not conversion, none of that, just email marketing for e-commerce. It's called Reengager, the same name as the site. And you might be able to find it if you search it on Facebook, or you can just email me, john@reengager.com, and I'll add you to the group. And
I'm joining it right now.
There'll be content in there, articles. I got a podcast that we've just started publishing.
Awesome.
There's actually a really good interview on there with so I went and got a guy who just one of the guys who won the most recent Shopify competition. They're selling mattresses, and they built a $45 million company in 8 months. So that's some crazy growth. They've raised about $9 million venture capital, and most of that's just sitting in the bank for them right now because the cash flow is positive. Great business, and basically just got him on the podcast and drilled him on how he did it. It wasn't so much about emails, more about just general strategy. But he's about 50, I don't know, he must be 52 or something like that. So he's sort of like a grizzled veteran. And it was interesting to hear his perspective. He's been up and down, I think, up and down on the business world a lot, a few times in his life. So he's just got that sort of calm, perspective on things that like doesn't get too excited by the sounds, but doesn't get too, doesn't freak out too much. He's kind of seen it, been there, done that. And now that I think he's just hit on, he described it like the most exciting time of his life, the last 8 months or something like that. Like crazy growth. So
okay, well, it's time to get onto that one. I'll make sure I link over to that episode as well in the show notes so the listener can get all that. John, thank you so much for taking time out, mate. We're going to be having to chat a lot more, but I've really appreciated this, and I know you've unveiled some really good insights for the listener. So it's time for them to actually sink their teeth into it.
Thanks for having me, Chris. It's been good chatting, man.
So now it's time for you to click on over to chrisdufay.com. That's chrisdufey.com to get all the guides and show notes. And if you are wanting the workshops where I walk you through how to build your online business, click on over to chrisdufay.com/start here. This is where I can give you the exact training guides and the workshops for exactly where you're at and the answers that you need. Now, every Friday I'm coming back to you with a new episode. So be sure to subscribe, and if you haven't already, you're going to be getting the world's best insights, the advice, and the answers to give you the business, the money, the freedom, and the success and happiness that you want. And I want to give you a huge muchas gracias for being here with me. And as always, get in touch with me via the site or via social, as Ask the Pro is about me giving you the answers that you need. So ask away.